Today on Broadscast, we are talking what's trending. We'll tell you what's going on in the world with guest Marcus Osborne, so stay with us.
Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Today's Broadscast is brought to you by, actually, you can support Broadscast by visiting a lot of different sponsors.
And planting a money tree and then just sending us all of your
But you can support
waivers.
Broadscast by going to broadscast.com/special offers. We've got offers there from Ebates, Amazon, Audible, BarkBox, Blue Apron, 3 free meals from Blue Apron, GameStop.
Oh,
Did
wait.
I just say GameStop?
I don't
Not
know.
GameStop.
Gamefly.
Yes, GameFly.
Stitch Fix.
Whoops.
But
But
right? We have Stitch
Fix,
Audible,
yeah. So
all
you
of them.
could head over to broadcast.com/special offers. But real quick before we start, have you ever tried Ebates? Seriously?
Ebates is the one where you go shopping and then it sends you money back for the purchases that you've made or something.
Yeah,
like
like I was actually working at a talk show, and they had Ebates on around the holidays, and they did a whole thing. And I'm not big on like going onto extra websites,
Right.
to do stuff. I kind of feel like, oh, what are they scamming me out of? What are they trying?
Right.
Just adding me to some email list. But you literally go on ebates.com, create a little. Well, go to it from our site because you could support the
us,
show that way.
yes.
But then you click on there and they'll give you a little deal, a couple bucks off. And then you literally have like Kohl's and Macy's and even
right.
Expedia. Before I go to Expedia,
Yeah.
I actually will go to Ebates and then just hit their link to Expedia. And then I get a check in the mail.
Oh.
I kid you not. Like I've gotten checks for like $40 here, $10 here.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Yeah.
You're just like that infomercial that
I know,
they have.
I
Yeah.
know, but that's the thing is I always thought it was kind of scammy,
Oh.
but it's not at all. And it'll tell you like they're having a double coupon. So it's like 6% at Macy's, but today is 12% that you're getting
Yeah,
back.
I've actually-
but it's like money, not
Yeah.
just off.
Right.
You
Right.
hard, cold hard cash.
Cold cash.
Yes. So anyway, head over to broadcast.com/special offers and help us out. We help you, you help us. It's a win-win. Isn't that what?
That's what broads do.
That's what totally what
That's
broads
what
do.
they do.
So, and another sponsor of the week, the Youth Project. Have you gotten your tickets yet for Comics for the Cause? It is August 17th. Please, Kim, tell
August
us about.
17th, my organization that I've had the honor of working for the last 12 years, we do a comedy event every year. This is our 5th year. It is at the Performing Arts Center in Valencia. Tickets start at $40.
Which is really close to LA, even though people think it's far away.
Yeah, it's so
it's
easy.
right where Magic Mountain is.
Right. So spend a day at Magic Mountain, then head over to the comedy events. We've got Wendy Liebman, who's a genius comedian. She's been around forever. She was also a finalist.
She would love that you said that.
Yeah. She's been around forever. She was a finalist on America's Got Talent a couple years ago. We have Drew Lynch, who is a hot up and coming star too. He was a runner up on America's Got Talent last year.
Really?
And he's blowing up.
Oh, wow.
And Greg Fitzsimmons, who is in all over the talk shows. He's a writer. Super funny. We actually saw him. Remember?
Yep.
We saw
Wendy Liebman and Greg Fitzsimmons
I
one
feel
night.
like Wendy thinks I'm stealing all of her comics, but I've been a huge fan of Greg's, and then it was just the time is serendipitous that he was there that night. And then Brian Monarch, who is kind of a dirty comic, which I love, but he too, he does shows with Dane Cook and Eliza Schlesinger and Chris D'Elia.
Mm-hmm.
He hosts shows all over the city too, and he's actually coming up to do our show too.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, it's going to be great.
It's going to be fun, and people can go to the show and
It's 100% of the proceeds benefit the Youth Project. We've been so lucky in the past to have Jay Leno and Howie Mandel and Billy Gardell and like huge comics. And
you never know who's going to show up.
Yeah,
I'm not promising anything, but Kim, seriously, every time I go, somebody shows up that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm very lucky. It allows me to do all my services for free for our teenagers who are struggling. So, and have a good laugh. We could use that when you're not watching Trump. You could use a good laugh elsewhere. So
yeah, no, I think it's awesome. And just because I like to put you on the spot, I think in the future we should be giving away a pair of tickets.
We can do that right now.
We could do it right now.
Sure.
What?
Yeah. Let's
All right.
do it.
Well, let's figure that out. By the end of the show, we'll announce how you can get your pair of tickets for free to the Youth Project Comedy for the Cause. Right?
Or Comics for the Cause.
Comics for the Cause. Oh my gosh. And I was just
You were going to say comedy show and then you tried to pull the name out.
I was about to make fun of a local magazine that called it Comics for a Cause, and now I called it Comedy for the Cause. So whatevs.
Yeah. But we'll be able to promote it. I mean, Sean Valentine, who's a local, 104.3, he's been promoting it. And then K-Cal and KTLA are going to have me and one of the comics on to promote. So it's
awesome.
good.
And maybe you have some pull. We can get one of the comics on here to promote too.
I can do that.
You have connections. So, all right. So today on the show, we are talking with radio personality Marcus Osborne. He's always up for a comment and an opinion, which I like in a person, especially on radio, because that would be awkward if he didn't have one.
And can I say that he wanted to talk all Kardashians, and we said no.
We asked you guys recently on Facebook. Because we've always called ourselves a Kardashian-free zone, and we were called out by one of our friends of the show,
one of our Broad Squad members,
and she's like, "Hey, that's like, CNN refusing to do Trump or something." She made some sort of
which
reference.
I don't know why they don't,
right? Because then they'd have no fodder. But so we really gave it some consideration.
Right.
That it was like, hey, wait a minute, are we a media outlet? Are we supposed to be open to?
Right.
But we asked our audience, and it was a resounding no. Like,
yes, it was.
That you can, if it'd be different if you couldn't get them anywhere else.
Right.
And it's like, hey, you refuse to talk about them, but you can get them everywhere else.
Right.
Just not here.
And there's, in my humble opinion, there's nothing really substance, you know what I'm saying? Nothing any of substance.
Right.
And so what's the point? I don't really want to sit and be catty and talk, have judgy feelings about people. And I feel like that's all I would say, which is, for me, that's kind of I don't want that in my life.
Right. That's a good point.
Right.
Because we're trying to be open. Even when we have judgy feelings, we're open to other people.
Yeah. And I want to be educational and empowering and helpful. And I just don't feel like that's an avenue that would provide that for us. So when our bro wanted to be on the show today, and that's what he wanted to talk about, we're like,
our broads don't want to hear it, Marcus. Sorry. Yeah. Although by saying no, I think we just talked about it. But anyway,
we talked about the principle behind our.
Yes. So last week was the DNC. So I was listening to last Monday's show, and if you guys haven't heard it, it was with reality star and Brain Candy podcast co-host Susie Meister.
Right.
And we were talking about like the upcoming Democratic convention, which feels now like it was a month ago.
Right.
And you had some actual like pretty strong feelings about, is it just going to be more of the same? Is there going to be, anything? Is it just going to be
is it going to be more of the
pissing
same, like
contest?
the
And
RNC?
just negative and bashing and blah, blah, blah. So what do you think? Did that happen?
Well, full disclosure, I am more partial to the Democratic Party than I am the Republican Party.
No, you don't say.
However, I do go into every political election with my heart and mind open.
Yes.
Because as I've gotten older, I find that in some areas I'm more conservative, in some areas I'm a little bit more liberal. So I really do try to vote issue based and people based as opposed to party based. So having said that, I agree with that. I felt more inspired. I felt more uplifted. I felt happier when I was watching the DNC. The RNC, I felt angry and I felt I felt angst after. I don't know why. I really, really wanted to be open. So because I wanted to be educated, but I didn't feel it. And I felt like when I was watching the DNC that every person that spoke was absolutely behind Hillary. They spoke her name. They spoke of her connection to them, what Hillary did for them specifically. Every person did not hesitate to support and acknowledge and appreciate. Whereas in the RNC, you barely heard anyone talk specifically about Trump, as opposed to the Republican Party. No one really came out and said, "Oh, Trump this and Trump that, and he's this." Like, it was very seldom that
they didn't want to lose face.
Yeah, and he doesn't have anything to show for it, and I don't
right.
mean that he just doesn't.
Right.
But there was I said to you before that I really felt like they could have plugged any nominee into the RNC because they never spoke about Trump specifically, whereas with Hillary and the DNC, it was very specific to her and her history of public service. And I really felt a little bit more inspired. Now, do I believe in everything? Do I support everything? No, but overall, I felt better.
Right.
And I cried. I mean, like some of the speeches were incredible. Like,
yeah. And the thing is, like, maybe everybody in the party doesn't put all of themselves behind Hillary.
Right.
But as a party, they came together,
I mean,
and that
look
was
what
the
Bernie
thing.
Sanders did. I mean,
Yeah.
he interrupted roll call basically and said, like, enough, we're good. She's it. I support. I mean, his speech was incredible considering how hard that fight was for him and all the WikiLeaks stuff with the DNC, sabotaging him. I don't really know, but he really came out there and was like, I don't have to agree with her 100%, but she's the best person for this job. And
Right.
I mean, it was amazing.
It was very, and just from a TV background,
Yeah.
I thought it was really well produced. It felt there was a flow to it. There were packages, tapes that were totally emotional and gave you background and photos, and you can't do that with somebody like Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go back and show like this was him.
Well, it's funny,
patting his daughter's butt.
I half was thinking, like, during the RNC, he kept, everyone always talks about the thousands of jobs that he created. I'm like, then how come one employee didn't come out?
Right.
Honestly.
Or at least do a taped piece on.
Well, they did. They had one woman that was like the only woman that he's hired as the VP of his company. There was like when it was like the women's equality or the equal rights or something. But he all he talks about is how many jobs he's given, and I've paid for people's education, and not one person came forward,
because I think the jobs he gave were in China making his ties.
Well, absolutely, or even though, and it doesn't mean that he didn't, but like, where were those people that had really benefited from his kindness? When you look at the DNC, I'm looking up her name so I don't ruin it, but like Anastasia Somoza, she was the young girl that was in the wheelchair, and she was one of the people that benefited from the Disabilities Act that Hillary was instrumental in passing all those years ago, and she was amazing. And all of the people that have had direct impact from what Hillary has done for them, I was moved by that. And again, you don't have to agree with everything she's done. You can think she's a liar about the emails. But in the big scheme of things, to me, I'm with her. And her speech
there's
was
a new
little...
hashtag. I'm with her now, and that's how I feel. I'm with her now. Like
I love that.
That convention did it for me.
Well, and it's unfortunate. I was watching the news over the weekend, and they said that Trump's speech garnered 32 million viewers, and Hillary Clinton's speech only garnered 29 million. And so I was thinking, is there a way to track like the fall off? Did people chime in to Trump and then dropped off after 30 seconds? Like, is there a way to track that?
Right.
Because now, and then the polls today, there was that Trump is behind her 10% in the polls. So I'm just curious, like, how people felt. I mean, I think people tuned in probably to Trump because they wanted to see if he would say anything smart. Like if he would say, like, what is your platform? Like, what are you going to do? I mean, now all I'm hearing is about this, argument that he's having with the family of the officer in the military that died. Like, it's disgusting.
Yeah. It's
comparing his sacrifice of.
And the thing is too, like, I just don't think that we should be on Twitter as on both sides. Presidential candidates should not be tweeting reaction to the other one. Like,
it's disgusting.
Like, lead. You know what I mean? Be a leader. Stand up. Like, it's just crazy. So before Marcus is going to be on in a minute, but what did you think of Bill? So Bill kind of got up there, and if based on his speech, you would have thought they've been happily ever after since the day they met.
Okay, so I tuned in accidentally to The View. And
you slipped and fell into The View.
One of my dear friends, Sunny Hostin, she's a guest host on there, and they were talking about that. And I guess Bill Clinton received a little bit of flack for constantly referring to Hillary Clinton as his girl. And how demeaning that is. And I'm like, my God, seriously. And I'm thinking, it is his girl. Like, how sweet it is that that's his girl. Like, that's his love, that's his bride, or whatever. And then they said, well, you make it sound like they've had this great love affair and there's been no problems. And Sunny Hostin said, quite eloquently, she said, the Republican Party is all about family and sticking together no matter what. She's like, isn't that what they did?
Right.
They stuck together through thick and thin. Lots of people have affairs. Lots of people cheat. Lots of people lie. Like, the fact that theirs was on the screen, and I mean, I don't have an opinion about that. And yeah, that sucks, but they worked it out. And maybe they don't have the greatest marriage and partnership, but it doesn't mean he can't acknowledge and see how incredible she is and like all the things that she did. And like, lots of divorced people don't like their spouse as a spouse, but they can be a great father or mother or CEO. That doesn't mean they're great
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
They're not
Like,
divorced.
no, but I'm saying, but you can separate out. Like
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
Hillary and Bill don't have
Well,
the
and-
most romantic love affair.
Right.
But doesn't mean they can't appreciate each other's
Right.
strengths and successes. And so what?
Right.
Everyone
And
knows
the
that
fact
happened.
is they have been together, at least in some form, since way back then. And so he's seen her literally turn into this person from a girl. She was a girl, a strong, I
was
want to save
19
the
when they
world.
met.
Yeah.
Like,
Like that to me is a
she was a
girl.
teenager.
Yeah. So, and honestly, if I were running for anything, which by the way, I will not. And if my husband got up there and talked about me as his girl, I would feel proud.
Yeah.
Because I am his girl. And I think that's what, people complain that they don't see the softer side of Hillary,
Right.
and then Bill kind of gives it to you, and then they complain
Well,
about that.
And not that there's anything wrong with it, but Trump is on his third wife. Like,
Right.
why are people getting so upset about the fact that Clinton, and Hillary? I mean, here
Right.
we are in a state where, our politics is we have our first African American president, we have our first female nominee, and the other side is trying to take away the woman's right to choose. I mean, how did we get to this place in history that the Republican Party is trying to overturn Roe v. Wade as the Democratic Party is making such progress in terms of African American, people and women's and then
Right.
how did we get to this stage that these two things are fighting each other?
It's because
so
both parties
fascinated.
will just do anything to not agree. But we're going to move on a little bit. I know Kim is exhausted now. So we've got Marcus Osborne, Mr. Radio Personality, on with us today. Marcus, are you there?
Hey, ladies, what's going on?
How are you?
Hey, thanks for waking up for us today. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, she went there.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Jackie wanted to make you take a picture with a sandwich board and Facebook shame you. I said no to that, so I figured I would just take my shot now.
You know what? You know what? Any publicity is good publicity. So I'll take that
Exactly.
picture, and you can post that thing every. As a matter of fact, I don't have a sandwich board, so I'll just use an 8x11 piece of paper.
Perfect.
And, put it on my body.
Perfect. For those who are just tuning in and are wondering what the heck we're talking about, Marcus was supposed to join us a couple weeks back, and he overslept. That's what happens when we do our Friday show so early at the crack of 1 p.m. Eastern.
And it was so. I had been up the night before doing a project up till 3 a.m. I'm like, nah, this won't be a problem, and it ended up being a problem.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Well,
thanks
we're
for
happy you're
coming
here
today.
now.
I'm happy to be here. I apologize again profusely.
Oh, no.
We actually pulled off a pretty good show without you, so thanks.
You made,
That's
you made us
my self-esteem. Thanks for telling me that.
you made us stay on our toes. So, hey, so I want to talk about a bunch of things with you because you're never at a lack of opinion. But have you seen? I'm asking both of you, Melania Trump on the New York Post.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see it, Kim?
I don't know.
It is a nude picture
Oh, yeah.
of Melania from years ago.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Osborne?
Wait, now, is she nude? Because that would be
pasties?
child porn.
Well, no, she was 25.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking about Malia Obama. Okay.
Oh, no. Melania.
Hey, like what?
Take two. Sorry. Melania Trump, she back when she was 25, she went through this photo thing. It was all over the internet over the weekend. And
Wait, were they girl on girl?
no, they were just nude pictures, but then the New York Post put some stars over her nipples and,
No, I'm looking at a picture that's girl on girl.
oh, well, that wasn't the one. That's not the
Yeah.
well, which that ought to bring us into the next topic after this. But anyway,
Menage a Trump. That's what the New York Post, that's their headline. Menage a Trump.
oh, that's a totally different. That's
Well,
not
look
even
at-
the same
Hey,
cover.
I'm like the Jarrett Hill of. I'm breaking the news right now. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
But she's so we're looking back at a Republican potential first lady here, and we are putting nude photos from how many decades ago on the cover of a newspaper. What do you think of that?
It's a post, so I guess I should expect nothing less. But I don't think ultimately the pictures themselves are a big deal. I really don't. But it's a nice way to try to smear the potential first lady. We've gotten to a point where everybody's fair game, right?
Yeah, but can you imagine things that you did 20, 30 years ago, making its way because now you're in a different stage of your life that you're choosing a different path, which
But it's not even her. It's hit, like he's choosing a different path. I know she's, the potential first lady, but
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I apologize now to my husband for anything he wants to do in his life that anything I did at 25 could keep him from.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean,
Because there's not much that my husband could run for based on my behavior at 25.
Listen, there's not much that I could run for based on my behavior at 40. So.
Like sleeping in.
And I just, you know what? We've gotten to the point where, couldn't you think that most of us in our early 20s, if we had social media around, we'd all be kind of a disaster.
Oh
publicly,
my gosh!
Right?
Yes.
I just think it's unfair to kind of, drag this stuff out, but we have to also acknowledge that this is the world we live in today. And if you are considering running for any kind of public office, or if you're going to be a public figure at all, you have to know that at some point, anything you've done is going to come out, for better or worse. It's going to come out. Somebody's going to see your dirty pictures or watch your dirty video or hear you say something. Or at this point, we post so much stuff on our social media that who knows what may come out at some point. But you just have to accept it as a part of life at this point.
but do you think that? I mean, I think about George W. Bush, who sometime during his presidential campaign or when he was already in office, that remember, they talked about his drinking days when he was in college and he did cocaine and that makes him bad. I'm like, no, that makes him human. Like, honestly, I mean, I don't know. I just sort of feel like that becomes such a trigger for people to question your character, when I actually have more respect for him doing that than someone that's like, I have never, inhaled, or like, I think Clinton did that, right?
Clinton.
I've never inhaled. Really? Come on now.
At least not the pot.
Well, so the good and the bad of it is we've kind of reached a tipping point where we do expect to find out things that are sort of bad, for lack of a better term. I mean, because we do want our people to be, we want these folks to be humanized. At least I do.
Right.
So I don't care if you've smoked some weed or done some drugs or, been in an orgy or whatever. Who cares? And here's the other thing. This stuff is not new. It's just that we find out about it now.
Right.
I'm guaranteeing that the things that were done before the science age, essentially, before we could take pictures and have newspaper reporters reporting it all on TMZ.
Right.
We know that, President Kennedy was banging a bunch of women.
Yeah, I was going to say he's a great example, because can you imagine if JFK were president now?
He would have been out of it a long time ago. Well,
Right.
he didn't get to serve a full term anyway, but that's
See what happens when you don't behave in the White House? Oh,
yeah.
Jackie! Too soon?
Wow. We went there. Yeah.
I like that you did.
Send your complaint mail to Kim at. No, I'm kidding. But I think it's like you said, I want to know that somebody who's representing our country actually has lived a little, and I don't mean has no meter of what's right or wrong, but like has made mistakes, has overcome things, understands challenges. Like, how can you represent an entire country and lead us if you've been like, this perfect little church going, person who's never made a mistake? Like,
Which way do you think is more reflective of our society?
In terms of, what do you mean?
Like the person that has made mistakes, the person that has never deviated from their marriage. Like, I mean, like the Trump, okay, coming from a divorced background, like he represents, not him, but like his blended family, the step fam, like all that stuff represents my family makeup more than the Clintons, who've been together for 40 something years, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I just wonder what people connect to more, and if that becomes like a deciding point for them.
Well, and actually, you saying that, it just dawned on me. If Donald Trump became president, wouldn't he be the very first president to ever have had a divorce? I think he would be.
Huh. Oh. Well, there was one that happened in the White. No. You know what?
Maybe.
I did really bad in history.
Well, but he had an affair, and then he married the
Melania.
Right.
Well,
he cheated on the first wife with Marla Maples,
right,
and then married Marla, and then cheated on Marla with Melania, right?
Exactly.
Melania.
Melania, what's her name?
But just to go back, do you think that it's helpful Or do you think it hurts Donald Trump that these pictures are out? Or do you think it just makes people go, okay, now the other side is so angry and so scared that they'll pull out anything?
It's really weird because in any other year with any other candidate, all of these things would have disqualified him a long time ago.
Right.
If you think of if Bill Clinton was running for president with Donald Trump baggage. Think of Barack Obama running for president with Donald Trump baggage. It just wouldn't happen. But for whatever reason, and I commend Donald Trump, the guy is a salesman, and he has managed to somehow, some way, wrangle his way to, a seat away from being the leader of the free world.
Do you think? Oh, sorry.
No, but to answer your question, I think that it is important that we do learn from our mistakes. We learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes, I think. And I like people who have had failures. I like people who, as you said, have lived a little bit, have been through some stuff. That makes them a lot more relatable. And Donald Trump certainly has that going for him.
But do you think that he's one seat away because he actually has something like an impact to make, or because he's just louder and more abrasive and says things that he thinks strikes a nerve, which I think he has with some of the, middle section of our country?
Right. Somebody called him, I think it was his daughter. She said he was like a blue collar billionaire or something like that. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know what the hell that is. But
oh my God.
I think he's a seat away because of a number of factors, number of variables, obviously. But he is saying he's obviously struck a chord with a certain segment, a large segment of our country, and they are kind of tired of their own party. It's weird that I've actually been sitting here going, God, I wish Mitt Romney was running.
I said that about oh my God, who's the guy with the ears? Oh my God, I've been saying it all this time with the big ears.
Ross Perot.
Ross Perot, yeah.
Oh,
where's Ross Perot when you need him?
Oh, he was such a character. But also, here's the other thing. I just read that only 9% of the nation has chosen these two people to represent the United States in the presidential election. So that says a lot more about us than it does our nominees, doesn't it?
Huh. Yeah, I read that. I saw that over the weekend too. That only 9%.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at you two broadening my mind.
Well, and I was talking to we talked about a little bit on the show too, but for the Republican Party, I think at one point like they had 20 some odd candidates.
Yep, sure did.
Right,
it was a lot.
And this was the best.
This is what rose.
This is what rose to the top exactly. And so that's what's really kind of frightening for me too. Wow.
Yeah. But I think that we need to be careful. Not we, but I think the media, especially the liberal media, needs to be really careful because Donald Trump is one of those people that as much as he has support, he buries himself. He constantly says things that make people go, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't vote for him." And so if we as liberals are going to, start sharing pictures of his naked wife when she was 25 years old, it just makes us look bad. And I consider myself an independent, but in this particular race, I'm totally blue.
Well, because you're stooping below a level that's necessary.
Exactly. Like he already makes you question his character and his decisions and his, what he says. So why are we doing that to make us look bad?
Well, as Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we should go high, right?
Exactly.
But the problem is this is where, as media, and I say we, this is where we are, and everything is about getting eyeballs, and it's so competitive now. Media journalism used to be sort of a noble profession. It was not about making money. It was about keeping the public informed. It was about being the watchdog. It was about keeping politicians honest, or as honest as we could keep them. Now it's become about making money. Which is why there's been the rise of Fox News, because they understood that you can make money off of news. And they turned it into an entertainment thing. I mean, the TMZs of the world, all the gossip blogs. It's all about getting people to watch or listen or read whatever it is you're talking about. And the best way to do it is to have really salacious things like Ms. Trump's pictures on the post. Because years ago, this stuff would have been off limits. would have been taboo.
Well, I wrote a book last year, Media Circus, and it was really kind of a look behind the scenes of what goes on for high profile cases and stuff. And one of the things I found with some of my stories is that, old journalism, like the old Tom Brokaw's and Walter Cronkite's, we only had 3 channels, right? NBC, ABC, CBS, and a couple of newspapers. And now you're competing with just regular folk like us who think we are journalists because we have a cell phone and we have a Twitter account. And, and nothing seems to be flushed. Nothing seems to be vetted. And the level of objectivity and honor is completely lost because mainstream media is now competing with the Perez Hiltons, and the Harvey Levins of TMZ because everything becomes newsworthy. I mean, we sort of joked as like you wanted to talk about Kardashian this morning, and to us, that's not newsworthy, but that's what people are talking about. And so,
and we'd probably get like twice as many listeners.
Absolutely, but that's not like for us. And so,
that's our bar. That's funny, Marcus, because there's not a lot. We'll talk about anything and we'll say anything, but that's our bar. It seems.
But I feel like it's people and myself included when I was younger, I never looked beyond what the anchors on the news were telling me. Now I am so inundated that I know nothing to be truthful anymore. Like, I have no idea. I get 7 variations of the same story and I have no clue what I'm reading. Like sometimes even The Onion I'm like, wait, is that legit? Like
it's a little too close
It's a little too close. Yeah.
But that's Marcus, do you think that even the people who get into journalism, which now is like air quotes journalism, to be honorable and to really be journalists, they don't even get a chance to do that anymore because they just wouldn't compete?
Oh, it's absolutely true. I have so many friends. Actually, I was supposed to be at a convention this weekend where actually Hillary Clinton's going to be the National Association of Black Journalists and the National Association of Hispanic Journalists, where there's a convention this weekend. We have it every year, and Hillary's going to be there. And every year the complaints grow louder that this is not what I got into this business to do. So when reporters and writers pitch stories, their editors will come back and say, I don't know if that's going to get enough. I don't know if people really care about the water situation in Michigan.
Right.
How can you make that a more salacious story? You know what I'm saying?
Sex
Like,
it up.
The things that really should matter aren't sexy enough.
Yep.
So you need to find an angle. Did somebody drink the water and die? Did Prince drink the water and die? Right. Let's talk about it now.
Right.
Isn't that unbelievable? It's like we can't even talk about really important topics unless there's some sort of celebrity angle.
Yeah, and once upon a time, right, as you said, you had 3 different outlets for your television news, and you had these very prestigious newspapers all over the country, and you could rely on them for the most part. You could trust that they were going to at least give you the basic facts of whatever the story was.
But now you look at it like, and I can't remember specifically what happened with Brian Williams, but, remember, didn't he like put himself in every historical event? But like, I mean, so there's a part of me that in some way appreciates that we have the ability to kind of vet and be a little bit more of a discerning listener and viewer, because I don't know if everything that was told to me over the years now was legit, because there was such a gatekeeper mentality when in terms of, hearing the news and things were, maybe watered down and, we were so protective of certain things way back when that now I feel like, I don't know if that makes entirely a lot of sense to me. So I'm going to do my own little digging.
Yeah. You can call BS a little bit more on the news.
Right.
Well, I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately and how much do we need to know about what's going on behind closed doors? How much do we need to know about the process? And I don't know. I'm getting to the point where I think we may know too much.
Would you rather be in the dark about more things?
And to a certain extent, I think it might be healthier for us as a country. There is something about being blissfully ignorant to what's going on behind the scenes, because now that we know so much, it makes us a lot more suspicious. I'd be willing to say that it adds to a real societal stress and sort of a mistrust of the people who govern us and the people who police us, because we know too much. And the problem is that these probably aren't as big or as widespread a problem as they're made out to be. And so we'll take a small thing and they make that small thing into a huge thing, and it's this gigantic problem.
Every time you say that, all I'm hearing is like the wiener picture scandal. Like, I know. I'm like, wait, why is that where I'm going in my head?
No, but I think you're totally right, Marcus, because there are certain things that have been happening for, since the beginning of time that maybe in a certain field, like say, in government, like some things are understood to happen and then they're fixed or they're not or whatever. But when we start to, highlight them and shine a light on them, people who don't necessarily get how things run, it can seem huge. And like, for example, like I know this company that like there was like permitting issues, right? And they had something going on with the city or with this, whatever it was. But like, there was this understood language until the media got a hold of it. And then all of a sudden it was like pointing fingers at each other, even though there was kind of a gentleman's agreement otherwise. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, you think about just generally speaking, prior to the 60s, and we didn't know anything about what our politicians were doing behind closed doors. And you know what? We essentially didn't need to. The problem is we find out so much about these folks, their personal lives, the shenanigans that go on behind closed doors, that we don't trust them. And the truth of the matter is, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, any of these guys who were great presidents, if we didn't know their warts and just judge them solely on the jobs that they did for the country, things would be a lot better for all of us, right? Because we wouldn't have this pressure to worry about what kind of guy is he? Is he sleeping around with X, Y, Z? Because it doesn't matter. It's really a distraction. Every person who's ever led this country has warts, I'm sure. You think about a guy like Martin Luther King, who I think is probably the greatest American ever. But the guy had plenty of warts. He cheated on Coretta Scott King. Right. But if we had known all these things about MLK when they were actually occurring in the 60s, before when the FBI was bugging his room and bugging his entire family and sending in undercover guys to break up the civil rights movement, if we had known any of these things, how effective would a guy like Martin Luther King Jr. have been?
Yeah, his memes would be, I have a mistress.
Right. I have a booty call. That's exactly it.
Well, that's fascinating because
we would not have made the progress we've made today because we would have been distracted by a personal issue in his life as opposed to the greater issue of civil rights for every single man, woman, and child in the country.
Wow.
But using him as an example, though, do you think that people are capable of having like flaws in one area of their life and then not in others and still be able to be effective? Like, absolutely.
Don't you? I mean,
yes, but I feel like people, they lump you in that you can't be good in all areas if you have one little thing that you're not so good at. Like, I feel like people are like, oh, you're a cheater. You know, like,
yeah. And I will tell you right now, though, 20 years ago, I would have thought if you cheat on the person that you stood before God and promised to love and blah, 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 and then if you couldn't keep that promise, how could you keep your promise to all these other people? Now I see them as totally, completely separate things, that what he did for civil rights and I mean, and for our history has nothing to do with what was happening with his wife,
right?
And I just think it's not really. I'm with you that I think in some ways I'd like to be blissfully ignorant to maybe their personal family lives. And like, look at the Obamas, right? So 8 years, not one scandal until today. But they especially, I think, of being African American, had to keep their noses clean even more so. Because people were looking and waiting and were like ready on the seat of their, the edge of their seat, ready to go. See, we should,
and they're still saying. I mean, they were still talking about how classless Michelle Obama was because she's wearing sleeveless dresses, and Barack Obama hates America and all this nonsense, and he's not I mean, it's a tough position to be in when you're being judged on every single thing you say and do. And everything you say and do is parsed and broken down and analyzed and overanalyzed 10,000 times by 50,000 outlets, as opposed to let's pay attention to not just Barack Obama, but all these politicians. Let's just pay attention. Believe me, we can eliminate people very easily based strictly on their political positions, both fiscally and socially. We don't have to worry about their personal crap.
Do you feel like they were under the Obamas were under a different set of scrutinous eyeballs because the fact that they were African American?
Sure, especially being the first. I mean, there is this thing that black folks talk about when it comes to quote unquote the first whatever,
right?
And they may not always be our favorite. They may not always be the best, but they're the right one. A perfect example is Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier for Major League Baseball.
Right.
Jackie Robinson was plucked out of the Negro Leagues. He was not even close to being the best player in the Negro Leagues, but he was the right guy because the player they chose to break that color barrier had to be the right person with the right temperament who was going to be good. That had to be there, but he also had to have all these other intangibles to be a certain way, where other players didn't. But if you're going to be the first, everybody's going to be scrutinizing you. I mean, if you're the first woman, I mean, let's face it, if Hillary Clinton becomes president, she's going to be scrutinized. Not just as president, but because she's a woman.
Oh, well, she already has. I mean, it's like her hair's short, her hair's long. She does this, She does that, you know.
But there are people, and this would apply to, and I can't remember specifically how it was covered with Obama, but there are people that are saying that she shouldn't be relying on the fact that she's a woman. She shouldn't be highlighting that she should just be, campaigning that Hillary Clinton. Like, she shouldn't be constantly talking about the fact that she's a woman and, like, the young girls can look up. Like, and a part of me is thinking, but why not? Like, that's incredible. And then other people are saying you should just be on the merit. We all know you're a woman. Like, we should just be going on the merits of your successes. And I feel like that was the same thing with the Obamas, that there was such a push for him being the first black president that, like, why can't it just be?
But that's the media's fault. It's not like Barack Obama stood up there and he kept saying how he was
how black he was.
Yeah. I mean, that's the media, and that's what they do.
How black are you?
Yeah. So let's go to Malia Obama a little bit. So I you mentioned it earlier off air, Marcus. Tell him I didn't really know what was happening. She was at Lollapalooza, and this one headline says Malia Obama caught on video twerking and flashing the crowd at Lollapalooza. So of course I clicked on that, and she's literally like wearing like a sweatshirt over her short shorts, and she like lifts up the sweatshirt with her shorts.
They call that flashing. So I think we.
I wish that was what it was called when I was younger.
Again, glad there was not social media when Kim and I were young.
Yeah. Amen. It sucks to be the child of a president. Like, if you're a teenage child of a president, it's gotta suck because it's essentially being a child star.
Yes. But without choosing it, because a lot of child stars go into acting.
Yes.
This girl was just born.
Yeah. And what also sucks is that, I mean, the amount of scrutiny on her. She's probably got to worry about who her friends are and whether they really want to be friends with her or if they just want to hang out with Malia Obama.
Right.
And of course she's at Lollapalooza, and she's got like 30,000 Secret Service guys around her. How like uncomfortable is it for her and for her friends? Because her friends want to do stuff and they don't want to have the cops around.
Right.
It sucks.
But she's 18 years old. She's at this thing. She's dancing with her friends. She's having a great time. Like, I based on the pictures in the video, like, I don't see any drinking and there are no signs of drugs or, so what is the big deal? Why are we as a society, is it the media or is it the media can only go so far. If we're not consuming what they're giving us,
exactly,
they can't continue this. So what is our problem?
We love this type of stuff, for better or worse. I admit to being guilty of watching the train wrecks from time to time myself. We just like to see it. And this particular thing wasn't that interesting to me, but there's been plenty of stuff where I go, oh, okay, I got to check this out.
Well, don't you call it research since you're part of the media,
Actually, and it's good for my taxes. I do call it research. So. But it's unfortunate that she's in that position, and it's unfortunate that we, as a society, we love this stuff. We can say how bad it is. We can talk about how bad it is for society and all, but we love it. And I think it's time for us to stop being so hypocritical about it. We, as a country, love this stuff.
But is it bad? Are people thinking it's bad because she's the president's daughter?
I don't think it's bad. What do you expect from an 18-year-old who's out for the first time by herself?
Yeah, I mean, but
Basically.
the whole world's at Lollapalooza. Why did they single her out? Like,
Yeah.
Because she's the president's daughter.
right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there's an expectation. You know, I mean, you look at the expectations that they placed on Chelsea and you know the Bush daughters and
Right.
you know the other kids, the Reagans. I mean, they've all kind of. Well, there's one Reagan
But
I don't think did
it's
so
funny
great,
that
right?
all the it's all the conservative, ones that have actually caused scandal.
Yeah, you know what? That's
Well,
kinda
I mean,
true.
in recent years, because like Obama, this is really not a scandal. I mean, Chelsea was great.
Chelsea didn't do anything. The Bush daughters were caught drinking or something.
I think there were some drugs and things happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh my God, they savaged Chelsea Clinton. A lot of people forget what it was like for her because they were calling her ugly. I remember Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, yeah.
It was bad, man. It was really bad.
And look at her. I was so impressed with her last week.
yeah,
she
she's an
just-
impressive figure.
She was just she was composed, but she was warm. It's like she had the perfect balance of being emotional and loving and feeling proud of both of her parents, Same with Bill. I don't know if he's that great of an actor, but like, I felt like I was watching like something momentous, thank you, with a family, like, especially with the, potential future vice president and his family and the kid and the mom, and they're so normal looking, that just to see these two families kind of interacting, like, wow, we might be doing something big. Like, it was just, I felt like I was kind of eavesdropping on that. And the RNC, I felt like I was eavesdropping on a really bad Christmas dinner with like with a family who doesn't want to be together.
And the uncle, the drunk uncle.
Yeah.
And they're all that way.
Yeah, but they all were like really uncomfortable and couldn't wait, and they kept sneaking off to like do coke in the bathroom or something. I don't know. It just felt very disjointed, and whereas the DNC, it definitely felt like, I mean, and Chelsea was a great example of that. Like she was on point. And that's the first time I've ever said that word.
The benefit to for most kids is, generally speaking, when they go into the political arena, most of them are fully formed adults. But folks like Chelsea and Malia and Sasha and even the Bush twins, they're kids, and we have to watch this stuff. So you end up judging them for years to come based on the things that they did as teenagers, and they don't get the benefit that most of these other folks get. If you introduce to them for the first time when they're adults.
Right.
So you don't have anything to judge them on. You don't have pictures to judge them on. You don't have, these secondhand stories and accounts of them being coke addicts or whatever. You just see them as a person. They get to step up in front of the camera. They get to talk about the things they believe in, and you start from there. But the kids, you're always going to know. You're always going to judge Chelsea Clinton by, she was that little girl. What did she do then? Or the Bush twins. What was she like when she was in the White House with her dad? Those things are always going to come up.
Right. But Ronald Reagan's daughter, she wasn't shy about sharing her feelings. That's for sure.
She wasn't. No, she wasn't.
Yeah. So let's move on a little bit to television. So Kim has been singing the praises of Grace and Frankie. I started watching that.
Not bad.
Do you watch that?
Yeah, it's pretty decent. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
but
good.
I watch. I started this weekend because I did a little freelance work for an entertainment magazine show last week, and they were talking about Unreal.
Oh,
that?
yeah.
So I had to watch that because I was like, I felt like I was middle aged and out of the loop. But it's pretty much, it's a show on Lifetime it's in its second season, and it's based on like The Bachelor. Yeah. It's a scripted show, but it's behind the scenes. Kim, you would absolutely, given the fact that you watch The Bachelor, you would absolutely love and The Bachelorette.
You're a Bachelor fan?
Yeah. Tonight's the big night.
Oh my God! Listen, let me just. I know this is a quick aside, but I am in awe of The Bachelor. Now, I don't watch the show, and when I was doing morning radio every day, we had a bunch of the contestants come on the show all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't watch it. But I always thought, geez, this thing is not going to last that long. This thing has been on since, 2002, 2003?
Seriously.
I actually
And
worked at
people still
Telepictures
watch it.
when they originally launched it.
I was pregnant when Trista and Ryan got married, and she was the first Bachelorette. She was the reject from the. I was
right.
pregnant.
Yep.
I mean, I watched her live. It was stupid.
That's the only Bachelorette I ever watched, or
But
Bachelor. I just don't watch
it's
it.
amazing because people still feverishly watch the show and anticipate the end. And what have they had? Maybe 2 couples that have ever lasted? 3 ever?
Actually, I'm going to quote. I mean, I actually more than that have made it.
The ones she follows are still together.
Yeah.
The Bachelorettes have had more success than the Bachelors, right?
That's a good question.
Oh my gosh! Now I have to think about it. There have been a couple of weddings and children that have stemmed from The Bachelor. Just two that I can think of off the top of my head for sure.
Wow.
But I know this is not what you're talking about, Jackie.
That's
But
all right.
like the cast-offs now are doing Bachelor in Paradise, which that's horrible. I can't get through that. But I don't know what it is.
Like Fantasy Island.
I don't watch a ton of television, but I find that my life sometimes is so exhausting that I just want to go zone out in something that's totally ridiculous. And so that's the show I've chosen.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Unreal is something. I mean, I have to we watch 2 episodes. It's not for me. It's not a binge watch because it's so dark and so real in some ways. Like having seen behind the scenes at reality, TV, I'm like, oh, this is way too close to the truth. Like, but it's really good. But speaking of television, so How I Met Your Mother, Josh Radnor, he played Ted.
Love the show.
He was, I think I watched every single episode until like the last season for some reason.
Ted was the main guy, right?
Ted was the main guy,
Okay,
yeah. And then and Bob Saget was his voice later on in his life. But Josh Radnor has come out publicly to kind of say that what's wrong with our society is pornography.
Weird, man.
Is it?
Not in my eyes. Not to me.
Literally, yeah.
Let me just say for the record, I wish porn was the worst thing in our society. I wish it. But I don't knock I can't knock his opinion. That's the way he feels. So, I mean, you got to respect that. But I just don't agree that porn is ruining society. Although the more we learn about it, you do learn that people do get addicted to it. It affects their interpersonal relationships. It affects them physically. There was a show called Darknet on Showtime, and it literally examined the effects of people who are addicted. When people used to say, I'm addicted to sex, I'm like, yeah, who isn't? And then, but you watch this show and you go, okay, this really could be a problem. They had these kids on there, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids who were just sucked into watching porn. And obviously it's so easily and readily available online that it's very easy to get addicted to it. And this stuff affected these guys where they literally could not have normal sexual relations because of watching so much porn. The porn had rewired their minds where they couldn't get aroused. They couldn't get erections
if they didn't have
just a regular female or even male relationship. And the porn had screwed them up so much they would have to go to rehab facilities and they'd have to stay away from porn, period, for 30 days in order for their brains to rewire and reconnect the way it's physically and genetically supposed to be, so they can go back to having regular sexual relations.
Isn't that like any addiction though, that it can cause you to be unable to have interpersonal relationships? I mean, right?
Yeah.
Addictions to food or alcohol, drugs. I mean, whatever it is, gambling. I mean, that's the definition of addiction is. So
the most interesting aspect of that thing though was the fact that it affected these folks physically.
Yeah.
So, I can't have sex anymore. I can't get aroused. I'm not turned on by being with my girlfriend or my wife in a regular, typical situation, date night or whatever. Nope. It's the porn.
Right.
And if I don't watch porn, I can't get aroused.
Well, especially if you're, exposing, so to speak, this to younger people. Like if that's their first exposure to that type of relationship, then they're learning right off the bat that's how it should be. But it's funny because go back to the media and how they talk about how he speaks out against it, right? And then it was an interview, a specific interview with Fight the New Drug, whatever that is. But he wasn't talking about this like, hey, it's not a religious thing. It's not that you're wrong. It's not, or any of that. It was just that when he watched it, it actually kind of hurt the quality of his life. Yeah. And it affected his mood. And it just wasn't a positive thing for him to watch it and then go out into the real world and with that kind of in the back of his head. You know? And so I actually have a lot of, by the headline, I'm like, oh, stop, Ted. But in reality, I like that somebody who others may look up to, is saying, hey, this isn't for me. I'm not judging. I'm not like standing on a pulpit to tell everybody that you're going to hell. Yeah. But this was not, fulfilling my needs in a way that is positive.
Yeah. He specifically said the quality of his life and mood was really affected by how much porn he watched. And you know what? I can't be mad at that. I can't knock that. Very fair. It affected him that way.
Right.
And as you said, he wasn't going on some diatribe. And he wasn't being didactic at all. He was just saying, this is what's happened to me.
Right.
It's self-effective. And that's completely fair. I'm one of these people who believes that, you know what, if you want to watch porn, watch porn. If you want to do drugs, go do drugs. Do whatever you want to do and deal with the consequences on your own.
Right.
Wow. Your kids have had a very easy life. No, I'm kidding. Never in trouble. I'm kidding.
Actually, my oldest daughter's always been in trouble.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
You got to face the consequences, right?
You do have to face the consequences because I mean, adults. Maybe I should preface it that way. Should be able to do whatever they want to do.
Right.
I think we've ended up spending so much time and effort and money moralizing to people. You should watch this. You shouldn't watch that. You shouldn't drink this. You shouldn't smoke that. And we've put a bunch of people in jail, and it's done nothing. It's solved no problems. So
just except make the rest of us feel better.
Yeah, essentially what it is. Mm-hmm. It makes us feel good to moralize. I mean, you're not stopping anything. So let people do what they want, and if they cause trouble, throw them in jail or put them in rehab.
Right. Yeah, you just got to take responsibility.
Well, we just solved all the problems today, didn't we? Look at us.
Yep, we're going
to send you. We're going to send you the cape, Broadscast cape.
Marcus Osborne, where can everybody find you?
Right now, I am actually building a brand new site. You know, the radio station I work for was sold 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm done now. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do next?
Wow.
So I'm actually building a brand new website. It's going to be a whole pop culture opinion piece type of thing. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But if people can find me on social media anytime, any place, and I'm pretty responsive, SMF Marcus. That's on Instagram. That's on Snapchat. That's on Twitter. And you can find me on Facebook, Marcus J. Osborne. I'm there.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll put it on our site, every place they can find you too.
Say hello to Tova.
I will. I will say hi to her. And you guys are great. I love the show that you guys do.
Thank you so much. We'll have you on again soon.
Keep it up, ladies.
All right.
Have a good week.
Talk to
you. So I love him. He's just, he's got an opinion, like I said. Before we only have like 2 minutes left. So before we wrap up, plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures, we're going to talk about that, I think on Friday.
Okay.
But I want to know the question of the week.
Oh, yeah.
How far is too far when it comes to cosmetic procedures and things like that? So we're going to talk about that a little bit on social media this week. And we'll talk to a plastic surgeon later on in the week. And
yeah, that's when we went on the road.
We did. We hit the road.
We hit the road.
So, and I just want to, before we wrap it up, remind everybody that you can support us. Support the show, the little show that could, at broadscast.com/special offers. It's really, we love being able to bring you the show. But it doesn't run itself, baby.
And speaking of not running itself, just another quick thank you to Stark Social for helping us stay connected on the web and our cool website. So thank you to the team over there.
Yeah, they're doing some great stuff. And we are very grateful for that. So that's it for this week. You got any parting words there?
Do I? No, I am off and running this week. A big week of work. So
for the youth project?
Yeah.
With the comics for the cause.
Comics for the cause. Yeah, I'm just last week and a half of summer vacation. My kid's registering for 8th grade this week.
Oh
Yours is for 7th grade.
He gets his locker tomorrow, Kim.
Yeah.
His locker.
Oh.
I went on to Amazon and which, by the way, you can get on our website, broadscast.com. And we went on to Amazon and got his lock, his little combination lock. Do you remember those days?
I know. Sam's school doesn't have lockers, though.
Oh, they don't?
No.
But yeah, we go tomorrow so he can get his locker and put his lock on it and stuff like that. So I love that. Like little things that they're just,
Remember we used to put the mirrors inside our locker?
Totally.
The warped looking. And then
Did we have combs in our pockets too?
Yeah, but you could decorate the inside of your locker, and that was like a big deal to be like by your friends in the locker room. And
so where can people buy tickets? And we're going to put our Comics for the Cause giveaway on our Facebook page this week. Where can people buy tickets? Real quick.
The easiest place is helpnothassle.org. That's the Youth Project website. It's helpnothassle.org. And then if you click on the Comics for a Cause logo, it'll put you right to the ticket site.
Awesome. So check our Facebook for a giveaway coming up later in the week. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you on Friday.
Peace out.
You're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall. They're huge in anywhere other than somewhere that you've been before.